Welcome to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. I'm your host, Krista Escamilla. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. We're so glad that you're spending some time with us today, and hopefully you are just thriving in the last few days of school and the start of summer. We are so excited for that time of everyone's life, a new season. Speaking of new seasons, we are so excited to welcome you today, our guest. We have with us Dr. Keeley Boyer, and she is the new superintendent of Ector County Independent School District. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, congratulations. I know you were the interim starting back in August, got the official role in February.
Yes.
And, we're so excited for you because education is so important, as you know, to any community, and especially here in West Texas. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about the start of your journey in education and how you got here.
So I feel like my journey started as a K-12 student. I was a kid who had perfect attendance almost every year, so I loved going to school. I loved going to school because of my friends. Not so much, for the school aspect of it, but
which is most people, right?
Exactly. My mom was a teacher, so I had to go. But I was probably also the kid that had perfect attendance that teachers were hoping was absent for a day. But I was there probably almost every day, K-12. So just really loved going to school and being with my friends. But I was also an athlete, and so also had fear of missing out. So never would miss school because didn't want to miss practice and possibly not get to play. So
right. What did you play?
I played volleyball and softball.
Awesome.
So,
fantastic.
But in 11th grade, I had a U.S. history teacher who saw something in me that other teachers hadn't seen in me. And so he ended up letting me lead the class and made me captain of the class. He taught us really military ranking through the U.S. history class and let me be in charge. And essentially what I look back now, and he was making me teach the class, so I got to do his job.
Right.
But honestly just saw leadership in me, and then I loved teaching and didn't know that as an 11th grader. But since that time, really just felt the responsibility to ensure that other kids love their teacher, but love learning. And so yes. Because I felt like if he could do that for me and make school fun, then I needed to pay that forward and make sure that other kids had that same opportunity. And so then I moved on to be a high school history teacher.
Okay.
And coach volleyball.
Where did you go to college?
I went to college, started at Texarkana College, played softball there, finished at Texas A&M, Texarkana, and then moved on and got my doctorate at the University of Texas of Austin. So
fantastic.
Longhorn.
So you can go Aggies and Longhorn.
It's going to be
Longhorns. You can root for both of them. Okay,
it's
Longhorns now.
Going
okay.
Longhorns.
That's fantastic.
So.
And then from there, so you're in that teaching role, which we cannot thank our teachers enough. So let's thank our educators. They have a hard job. Imagine. I always equate it to we only have 4 kids that we're trying to rally. You're rallying 20 to 30, sometimes more in a classroom every hour, switching depending on the grade, and being that person that is pouring into them nonstop. And so I just appreciate that role so much. What was it that made you go, okay, I want to switch to that leadership role from being in the classroom to more administrative?
It's a great question. There's probably not one answer. I would just say overall, I've always been drawn to leadership. Yeah. My role as an athlete, I was always in a leadership role. And I learned that too from the same teacher that people were following me, right. Whether I wanted them to or not. And so, to be a leader, you have to have followers. And so just naturally, people would do what I asked them to do or what I did. And so I always really felt the call to lead. Starting with the classroom experience of wanting to lead kids to really love school. And so started teaching and saw some great administrators and some not great administrators, right? I feel like in every position, right. You get an opportunity to learn a lot what to do and what not to do. So I got to see that and, had a principal take me under her wing very early in my education career. And she was an elementary principal and I was a high school teacher, which was interesting, but because I didn't go the elementary route.
Right.
So I'll just say I always felt a call to leadership and to lead. But then after I started teaching and I learned from who I would consider a very strong elementary principal, it really drew me into administration. And so I started working on my administrative pathway and journey. And very complicated story. It's going to sound complicated, but my high school principal, when I was in high school, ended up being a high school principal in Houston. And so, I'd known him forever, and my family were in education, so they knew him. And when I wanted to do something different, got in contact with him and so went and worked with him, and he started my journey on administration. So
I love
to learn a lot from him, and spent 6 years learning from him as an assistant principal, with him as principal. And so I'm really just blessed to have had a strong leader, a strong principal that taught me principalship.
I love that, because mentorship is so important when you're, starting your career, or even making a career change, from in the classroom to outside. So that's fantastic. You've now been here in West Texas for 4 years and have taken on this new role. How are you going to use that experience? Because you've been in some big cities. How will that experience, roll over, and what do you see happening here in ECISD over the next 3 to 5 years?
So did spend 13 years in Houston ISD. So did that and was teacher, assistant principal, and then principal supervisor. Then I got an opportunity to go to Oregon and spend 3 years in Oregon, and really learning a different education system. But I would say what I've learned from every system I've been in is, it's about kids. Yeah. And so while every community is different, like student learning is always the main thing. And so, really understanding community experience and community context. But at the end of the day, it's kids. And it's kids in our schools, and it's our responsibility to make sure that they get the very best. And so, I've learned in every position I've had in every district I've been in, I've learned something new. And so I just feel like always learning and taking what we feel is best for kids and bringing that to the next role. And that's what I'm doing here.
What do you want every child that is in ECISD to know about you as you come in there as that leadership role, and every teacher?
I want them to know that, how important it is to be at school every day, number one, because I was a kid who had perfect attendance many years.
And I admire you for that so much, because I was not the kid that had perfect attendance. Yeah. That is so admirable. It really is, because that's how you get the best of it, of your learning experience and your overall education experience.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know at the time that I wasn't necessarily going because I just love school, but I was going because I love school because my friends were there.
Yes.
And so, whatever brings kids to school, go, right? Because you're not going to learn if you're not there. Also, find teachers that you connect with. Find teachers that see the best in you, and let them invest in you and pour into you, and just learn from really every experience, because every day is a new day. But important to, when teachers tell you you're good at something, listen to that, right? And learn.
They're not just saying that.
They're not just saying that. And so, but ask for help, because everyone's not good at everything. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, I do that now in my role. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. So, for kids, it's about asking for help, but also receiving the feedback and the compliments, and knowing that your teacher is telling you, if you're good at something, you're good at something, and use that and lead with your strengths, but ask for help when you need help. And it's the same as you move up, through your journey in education. Even me as a superintendent, if I don't know everything about everything, but I know who to call and ask.
That's important, and I love that, because I think teachers, they may not realize the impact they're making now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, when you run into that former student and they say, hey, remember that time you told me I was really good at public speaking? And then, or, hey, remember that time you said, hey, math is that is where you shine. And then they go on to become a math professor. Whatever, you need that encouragement. And so I love that you mentioned that, because it's those little words and encouragement that trajectory of your life.
But to add to that too, for teachers, like, kids are listening, right? And so, and words mean things. And so, just one little comment about you're great at something, kids hear that, right? And so make sure that you tell a kid every day what they're good at, and then also what they need help with, but just highlight and celebrate what they are good at, because we can be very quick to say you need to get better at this and you're not good at this, but they are good at other things. And so just highlighting and making sure that we're celebrating the wins too.
I love that. Always focus on the good. That's right. We want to talk about the PSP partnership, because the Permian Strategic Partnership is such an advocate of education, and I know they partner with you. What does that partnership mean to you, and how is that helping? I know you're new in the role, but I know you've seen the effects of this great partnership.
Absolutely. Our partnership with PSP is so valuable. Again, the list, will go on and on and on the things that they do for us, and really just public education in the Permian Basin. But number one, the contribution to our new CTE center and the $10 million. And so them investing in our community and in public education with that $10 million investment, just incredibly grateful for that. Some other things, they're great about us coming forward and saying, this is something that will help our kids, it will help our teachers and our leaders. Can you help us? And so it's just nice to have a partner in the community that will help with things sometimes that are just outside of our capacity with funding. A couple that come to mind, we have a principal incentive allotment. It was something that we created locally to mirror the teacher incentive allotment that the state created. The teacher incentive allotment awards the highest performing teachers in terms of student growth every year, and the teachers that are having the largest impact on student growth. And
how do they judge that? Is it
by our STAR state assessment and MAP? For us, it's MAP, which is it's a national test, but it is one of our internal assessments for student growth. So we created a principal incentive allotment to mirror the teacher incentive allotment to financially compensate, to incentivize and reward our very best principals that are also having the largest impact on student learning. And so
I love that.
The PSP funds that for us. And so that's $100,000 a year.
Wow, that's
fantastic. So
fantastic.
just this year we had 5 teachers. They were the top 15%, overall in our district. And so we awarded it right at $80,000 to our top 5 principals based on student growth, and that was all thanks to the Permian Strategic Partnership. And so that really helps us retain our best leaders, ensuring that our schools have the very best leaders. Something else that the PSP does for us is they support our principal interns, and so it's also another locally created program, because we know that there's a need for highly effective principals in every school, just like there's a need for a highly effective teacher in every classroom. And
yes.
Creating our bench of ready leaders, and that's a Holdsworth term, the Holdsworth Center, ready leaders, but ensuring that when we have a vacancy that we have a principal ready to step in. And so the Permian Strategic Partnership funds 3 principal intern positions for us.
Oh, wow.
And so they get it's basically a year of residency, and they spend a full year with one of our highly effective leaders. And I can tell you now, after last night, we have 2 that have moved into the principal positions for next school year. So it's working.
Wow.
And so
That's
that
fantastic.
investment in our leadership development is working. And so we're appreciative of that. They also support leadership development and teacher development through partnership with the Holdsworth Center. And so we had several of our schools and their leadership teams go through an 18-month program with the Holdsworth Center. And so it's really about instructional leadership and improving what's happening in our classrooms. And so it's just another thing that the PSP funds for us. And so we're grateful for the partnership because they're able to invest in things financially that we're not able to.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, we're going to have an amazing CTE center for our community and our kids. And we're also working on developing high-quality leaders for every school.
That's fantastic. And is that in the beginning stages of the CTE? So it's in the building, the construction?
Yes.
Yes.
We just finished the design phase, and last night at our Board of Trustees meeting, they approved our guaranteed maximum price, which means we are locked in and construction can begin.
Fantastic.
And so construction will begin this summer. We've tentatively set a groundbreaking date for June 17th. So, of course, all the PSP will be invited to that. So June 17th, tentatively, hopefully we'll get that locked in this week, we'll be breaking ground. And so we are on schedule and set to open the new CTE Center in January of 2027.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yes. And we know that will make a difference. I mean, you're training the future leaders of tomorrow, and there is nothing more important than that. And we're glad you have the tools to be able to do so. That is fantastic.
It's going to be state of the art. It's going to be amazing for our kids and community.
You mentioned community. What are some important ways that ECISD can stay connected to the needs of families and teachers in both Midland and Odessa? How can we continue working together? Because I feel like everything is better when we collaborate, and that's parents, teachers, students, PSP, everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for us right now, we are developing a new strategic plan. So we are in the beginning stages of developing a strategic plan, which will really set our North Stars for the next 5 years. And so we are having community focus groups and meetings with parents and staff. And so we're trying to cast a very wide net. I actually saw it run on one of our news stations last night, like encouraging parents and community, like please contribute, because we do want to ensure that the things that we prioritize over the next 5 years are going to be impactful in the community, that the community is going to see value in, and that, 5 years from now that our kids are even more ready to contribute to our community.
I love that. What would you say are the top 3 priorities? Like if you had to list them in order, and I know they're all important, but what would be your top 3?
For me, number 1 is going to be teacher quality, teacher preparation, and ensuring that we have a highly effective teacher in every classroom. And so, again, we're in the beginning stages of our strategic plan, but absolutely providing the best professional development and professional learning. I'm really just setting the standard, a high standard for what it means to be a teacher here in ECISD, and we're not in ECISD sitting right now, but in ECISD, and so ensuring that every kid has a high quality teacher. And so I'm working on the professional development and support to ensure that we have that. Family and community engagement is huge. We hear that a lot because since COVID, how do we bring our family and communities back into our schools so that they feel welcome, but that they're also adding to the learning experience of our kids. And so that will also be a priority. And then we also have to look at, long-range facility planning. We have very old buildings. We are, with the bond that passed in 2023, building a new middle school in West Odessa, as well as the new CTE Center, a transition learning center, and we're updating the Permian Auditorium and the Ag Farm. But we also have a lot of old buildings. And so just doing some long-range planning and ensuring that we have a very clear plan, and that the community is aware too and involved in how we're updating our facilities, so our kids get to go and stay to school in state-of-the-art facilities.
I love that, because it is so important. We have to change with the times, and we have to keep. I always say you got to go to grow, but when you're growing, you've got to make sure you're going when you're growing. Like you can't just stay the way things are, because then nothing will ever change. And so I love that you're seeing those things that need to grow and really pouring into it. Let's talk about teachers. You mentioned that you want to be there and support the teachers, and I know every principal that's in every school wants to support their teachers, right? For teachers, when you listen to the teachers, what is it they need most, so that we as parents know how we can support them as well, besides getting their kids to class?
So I'm fortunate to have a teacher advisory group, and they're very transparent about a lot of things, and I appreciate that very much. So what they tell me they need is they need differentiated professional development. Okay. They need professional development to meet their specific needs. They want us to pour into our teacher leaders, because they want to learn more from our teacher leaders. And so they want an opportunity to learn from the teachers who are successful, have proven success, who are TIA designated teachers. We're an opportunity culture district, meaning we have multi-classroom leaders. And so they want to learn from experts, and they want to get better at what they do, but they want us to ensure that they have that opportunity.
That's great. So they just want to learn more themselves.
They do.
Love that.
They do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What advice would you give to a teacher, since you've sat in both, right? You've been in the classroom and now in the role you're in. What advice would you give to teachers, especially going into summer? Let's say happy summer, because I know you're going to enjoy that. What advice would you give to them as they head into summer and then begin for the next school year?
I would say take a break. Yeah. Work-life balance is important, so take a break. Fill your own cup. But then also, start thinking about like what you do need for next year, and what are your needs for next year. And the best advice I can give is, when you get the opportunity at your school to go observe highly effective teachers, go do that.
Yes.
Because I feel like when I went from the classroom to assistant principal, I got to see teachers that I had never seen before, and I'm like, wow, if I knew I should have done that, I'd been a much better teacher. And same thing with principal. You leave principalship and start going into all these other schools and seeing quality leaders. And so I would tell them to, seek out excellence and observe it, because you have to see what it looks like to then go back and do it. And so seek out excellence, and so that you know what the standard is, and you know what excellence looks like. And I can tell you, I get the opportunity to be in classrooms all over the district, and I see amazing teachers. And so just tapping into the quality teachers that are on their own campus, so that they can learn.
I love that, and that's great advice. No matter what you're in, whatever role, if you're in oil and gas, if you're in medical, in health, whatever it is, seek out excellence. Yes. I love that, because when you learn from others and see what is working and what is excellent, you can implement that into your own life. And you're already doing a great job, but imagine taking one little nugget from someone else and making it that much better next year. I love that. Great advice. We're getting kind of close to the end of our podcast, but I want to know, because you are new to this role, I always love learning fun facts about people that we wouldn't read on your bio. What's a fun fact about you that we wouldn't know?
Fun fact. probably that I played softball in college.
I love that.
You know, I feel like that was yesterday, but that wasn't yesterday. And so I feel like
it looks like it was yesterday. We were telling her how young she
you.
looks. Like, I want to know your skincare. I want to know what you're doing. You're drinking water. What is it you're doing? You're doing great.
I appreciate that. But yes, I would say, you know, that I was a college athlete, because that was so much of being an athlete was so much of my identity and who I was until I was, you know, 20 something years old. But I just take those lessons with me in the leadership and learning how to collaborate and work with others, how much I take that forward with me. But I would say probably that's not something that's going to show up on my resume, but just the impact that, you know, being part of a team, being part of a leader on a team, but being an athlete.
I love that. And since you mentioned that as a previous athlete, what advice would you give your high school self? Seeing ECISD has so many great athletes and has such a great reputation. Everyone's seen Friday Night Lights, right? So what advice would you give?
Probably the same that, you know, I was telling you about teachers. It's just, you know, seeking excellence and learning from it, because I truly believe everybody's always giving their best. And what we see from everybody every day is their best, but it's the best based on what they've seen and what they know. And so, you know, just getting some experiences and learning from other people that do it differently, because you can take something from everyone else. There's a learning experience in front of you. So I know we have kids that, you know, play locally. We have kids that get the opportunity to go play other places. But just as you're watching other people play, learn from them.
Yes.
There's always going to be someone who can do something better that you can do it, then you can do it. But just learning from that and trying to get better every day.
And when that coach brings in a former NFL player, NBL player, whatever it is, former PGA player, listen to what they have to say, because you truly can learn from the best that have been there. So I love that. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything in closing that we haven't talked about today that you really want to share with our listeners about your journey or your vision for ECISD and the future of ECISD? Because I'm very excited. I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you. You know, just how much that I appreciate and ECISD appreciates our partnerships with PSP. Just having the importance of having partners in the community that support our work, that see that, you know, we're not perfect and nobody is, right. But that we are trying to improve every single day, and that we're trying to get better, and how much partnerships like the PSP matter, and helping us do that.
Well, thank you so much. We wish you all the best. This has been a great conversation with Dr. Keeley Boyer, the new superintendent of ECISD schools, and we wish you continued success with your education journey, and we look forward to you changing the lives of our students for years to come. So thank you so much. We also want to thank all of you for listening to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. As you know, the future lies here in the Permian, and we are all in this together. So please share this with someone so we can continue to spread the good news. I love spreading good news. If you could spread anything today, make it be good news, like all of the wonderful things that the PSP partnership is doing here in West Texas, because they truly are making a difference in our quality of life, and we appreciate that so much. We appreciate your time today, and we hope that you have a great summer, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. You make it a great day. Thank you for listening to the Permian Strategic Partnership Podcast. For more information, go to permianpartnership.org.